Good morning, everyone. How are you? Welcome back to my channel. So today we are actually going to be water bath canning applesauce. So it's next to the last of one of my products that I'm going to be handling for this year. Next to last of one of my apple products, I should say. Um, so the applesauce is the last apple product I'm going to can, but I'm also going to be making some cider that I left. Had some apple juice left over from the apples that I rendered down from one of my last videos. So I have here in my crock pot probably about, and I'll give you a look here, this big green crock pot. I have about, I want to say 30 apples in here, and they were a mix of golden and Macintosh. So I did them the same way that I was doing my apple butter. If you watched that video, if you didn't, definitely take a look at that. So what I did was I literally just, they were washed and clean skins, and then I left the skins on, and then cut the apple around the core, and then just cubed up our apple. So right now we just have, and then I just let this cook overnight. So now our apples are all nice and soft, and I have my immersion blender here. Like I said, this is a really handy tool to have. And we're just going to emulsify all of this. And if you don't have one of these, the apples are so soft, you could probably honestly just get away with using a potato masher. But I do want to make sure that those skins are all ground up as well, so that's why I'm going to do it this way. And then really all it is, guys, is just adding a little bit of cinnamon and sugar if you prefer it, and maybe a dash of salt. And that's really it. And then we're going to water bath can it. So I'm going to blend this up, and we're going to get moving here because we have a lot to do today. All right. Like I said, you want to put your immersion blender in, and you just want to give it a little tilt to the side so that you can make sure the apples get underneath the blade. Okay, guys, so our applesauce is nice and smooth now. I'm going to give you a look. Our crock pot is off. Okay. Nice and smooth. So now we're going to give it a little taste. See if it needs any cinnamon and sugar. I usually do like a little bit of cinnamon at the very least. I try not to put sugar in anything that really doesn't need it. Sometimes you do need to balance out some flavors, and a little dash of sugar goes a long way, like say in certain sauces and whatnot. So I'm going to give this a taste and see where we're at. You always want to taste your food, guys, especially whenever you're producing like a mass amount like we are. Especially when you're canning and whatnot, you definitely want to taste it, make sure it's good before you preserve all those jars. Okay, so after tasting our sauce, we do need some seasoning. Just because, and it depends on what kind of apples you have, to be honest. I obviously have two different apples, so it's going to give it a little bit more flavor than just one. But it really depends on the apples, to be honest. So I'm going to do a dash of salt. And just to give you an idea, for a dash of salt in here. You saw how big this crock pot was. I mean, this is a pretty big crock pot. The apples were literally heaping over last night, because that's usually how I do it, because I know it's going to cook down. They've cooked down to right about here, so it's probably, you know, a third of it has gone. So I just want to keep you informed about that. Whenever you do something like this, it's going to cook down quite significantly. Alright, so we did a little dash of salt. We're going to do some cinnamon. And we've got here about 2 teaspoons of cinnamon we'll start with. And then I am going to put a little sugar in there just for some more flavor and just to balance it like I had mentioned. And this is just white sugar. You can use brown sugar if you prefer, whichever you want. And we've got about 2 tablespoons of sugar. Mix this up. Now this sauce we don't have to reduce down, unlike our apple butter that we made last week. Our apple butter needed to be reduced down because we wanted it to be really, really thick. You know, traditionally that's how it is because it's more of a spread. Applesauce is obviously like a sauce, so it's going to have a little bit more fluidity in it. So, okay, so this is all nice and mixed. We're going to give this one a taste. It's almost there. I'm going to add a little bit more cinnamon. So I think total I would do a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon. I would do 2 dashes of salt. And I did 2 tablespoons before. So I would say 4 tablespoons of white sugar altogether. I'll give this a taste here. And once we have this seasoned to our liking, we are honestly ready to jar up. I have my half pints washed over there, ready to roll. And I have my lids simmering. No, you don't need to simmer your lids anymore. I know that has definitely changed. I still like to. I think it does give me a little bit of a better seal. It at least gives me a little bit of insurance on it. So I don't mind doing it. It's not that big of a deal. I just put my lids in a little saucepan on the stove, and they're literally on, like, I have an electric stove, so my stove's like on a 3 at the max. Usually it's around 1 or 2. Perfect. So this applesauce is ready to go. I'm going to bring over my jars, show you how we jar it, and yeah, and then we're going to water bath these. All right, guys, here we go. My little half pints here. Move these out of the way so you can see a little clearer. And with, like I said, with these sauces and everything, you can go a little bit farther up from an inch, which would be that first lip there. We're just going to pour this right in. Usually like to leave at least about a ½ inch from the top with my sauces, or when you're doing like jams and jellies and whatnot. So I just go a little past that lip, and then it's ready for the next one. Applesauce is probably one of the most easiest ones to do as far as prep, to actually, you know, prep all the way through to cooking and everything. So if you want to try something like that. Now, if you don't like the skins on the apples, by all means, take them off. You know, there's those gadgets that'll peel, core, and slice them for you if you really want. Maybe ask that. Maybe that's a good thing to ask for a birthday or something like that. Especially if you're doing a lot of apples. Sometimes it makes the job easier, and sometimes it just kind of complicates it if it doesn't work. You know, sometimes they get a little finicky. Okay, so here we've got our 4 jars of applesauce. Now I'm going to clean and wipe these rims. I'm sorry, we're going to debubble first. So debubbling, just go around the outside with our debubbling tool. Remember, you guys can use any kind of plastic or wood implement. Just make sure it's not sharp, of course. You don't want to scratch your jar or anything. And that's why they don't recommend to use anything metal when you're debubbling. Okay, so we're just using a little bit of white vinegar on a paper towel. We're just going to make sure these rims are really nice and clean for us. I'm going to take our little magnet grabber tool to pick up the lids. And it's really handy if you are putting them in simmering water, because then you don't burn your fingers, obviously. Want to be as safe as possible. Now I have a large stock pot. If you have, I'm actually using my pressure canner right now. Normally I would water bath can in that, but I've been water bath canning in my large stock pot. So I just have a folded up towel, very flat, in the bottom of that pot. You can also just go purchase another water bath canner, which is probably what I'm going to have to do just because I'm very busy and I need a lot more space whenever I'm canning. I need to can more at one time, if that makes sense. So then we're going to, but you can do it with a stock pot. And then I've got our rings, just finger tight. I have our water on just like a little bit of a simmer right now. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take these and put them right into our water bath. And for my pressure, once these come up to a boil, a rolling boil, for my pressure, they're going to cook for 20 minutes. I'm going off of the pint. They don't have a recipe for the half pint, but I'm going off of the pint anyway, just to be safe. So for quarts, I will go back to that website and just look for you guys. So for water bath canning quart applesauce in my elevation, which is over 1,011 feet above sea level. So for quarts, you're going to water bath can for 25 minutes, your pints for 20 minutes. So just so that you're aware of the difference there, definitely use that website because depending on your elevation, your cook time is going to be different. So we're just going to put these in once they come up to a boil, cook them for 20 minutes, and then bring them out, let them sit on the counter, and let them cool down for, at least till tonight. And then we're just going to wash them, label them, and we are going to take the rings off before we store them. So I'll see you guys back here whenever these are all processed. All right, everyone, so our applesauce is all done now. I'm going to show you what we have here. Just came out of the water bath canner. Looks really, really good in our half pints. Like I said, we're just going to let these cool down now. Generally for, like I said, whenever I take things out of the water bath canner, at least around 10 or 12 hours, and then I'll usually wash them, date them, and put them away and take the rings off. But when I pressure can, I do like that to at least sit overnight, just to make sure, because it's really, really hot when it comes out of the pressure canner, and a lot of things are usually boiling, so it kind of needs that time to rest. So that's it for today on this video of how to can and make applesauce. Please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about the channel and get them involved into canning and cooking as well. Stay tuned for the next video. I'll see you guys soon.